A lot of prominent college athletes will attend the draft to hear their names called. However, a bit of a word of caution here.
Lamar Jackson's still on the board.
Brady Quinn is still on the board.
Johnny Manziel is still sitting there.
So, with that, here are the 10 prospects that should avoid attending the draft because of their potential draft day slide. Shedeur Sanders, quarterback. Now, as talented as Sanders is, Cam Ward is rising in the draft stocks and is looking to be selected off the board with the first pick of the draft. Sanders was favored to be drafted by the Giants, but they might draft his Colorado teammate Travis Hunter or someone else entirely. Now, don't get it twisted. Sanders is likely going to get drafted in the first round. But some teams may avoid Sanders because of his on-field performance, perceived lack of professionalism, and his father, Deion Sanders' influence on his draft plans. And, of course, just like his father, Sanders shares similar traits and called his falling draft stock fool's gold. Once Sanders becomes an NFL rookie, he'll be just as polarizing as his father was when he entered the NFL back in 1989. There's nothing wrong with a parent wanting what's best for their son, but Deion won't be Shedeur's coach in the NFL. It may just be better if Shedeur stays home with family or is with his Colorado University teammates on draft night, since the spotlight will be all over him, causing a bit of a media frenzy if he does attend the draft at Lambeau Field. Luther Burden III, wide receiver. Burden III did wonders for the Missouri Tigers, but his draft stock has fallen faster than today's economy. Burden's production took a bit of a dip from 2023 to 2024, which raises the alarm bells for NFL scouts. Burden had 1,212 receiving yards in 2023, but had 676 receiving yards in 2024. On top of all that, Missouri's offense slightly struggled in 2024 with inconsistent play, and quarterback Brady Cook dealt with an ankle and wrist injury. Some draft analysts have also referred to Burden III as a bit of a diva, which can be a turnoff for some NFL teams who don't want bad behavior lingering in their locker rooms or facilities. On top of that, the 2025 draft class has a lot of wide receivers to choose from, and a couple of wide receivers like Matthew Golden and Teteroa McMillan will be selected in the first round. Despite the lackluster stats from Burden III's junior season at Missouri, he should do pretty dang good things in the NFL. But it would be better if Burden III just stays home on night one of the draft, as it's likely that he'll get selected in the second round. James Pearce Jr., defensive end. Not long ago, draft analysts were suggesting Pearce Jr. would be a top 5 or top 10 draft pick. However, Abdul Carter passed him, and questions are arising about whether Pearce Jr. will even get selected in the first round or not. Pearce Jr. is a talented defensive end, but scouts have been concerned with his on-field performance at Tennessee in 2024, which certainly can be a red flag for some NFL scouts. Pearce Jr. potentially has character concerns, which are causing some teams to cross him off their draft boards entirely. Once Pearce Jr. enters the NFL, he should develop into a star on defense and strike fear against opposing offenses no matter which team drafts him. But it would be best if Pearce Jr. just celebrated draft night with his family or his peers at the University of Tennessee, as opposed to appearing at the draft itself at Lambeau Field. Mykel Williams, defensive end. Williams has the weight and height to be a standout defensive end in the NFL, but he decided to skip the on-field workouts, which, is never a good sign for NFL scouts or draft analysts. Williams also dealt with a grade 2 ankle sprain, which he revealed he had since the Bulldogs season opener and wasn't able to practice until mid-October. Although there's nothing wrong with Williams as a prospect, injuries unfortunately happen. So, don't be surprised if Williams is selected late in the first round or early second round of the draft. Williams certainly has what it takes to be a top 10 draft pick. And once Williams gets drafted, he'll contribute quite nicely on defense like he did for the Bulldogs. It'll be up to Williams to attend the draft in person though. But I think he's better off just enjoying the moment with his family at home or on the University of Georgia's campus with his Bulldog teammates and coaches. Cam Skattebo, running back. Skattebo is a talented running back who's rushed for 1,711 yards at Arizona State and led them to the 2024 Peach Bowl, where they ended up losing 31-39 in double overtime to the Texas Longhorns. Skattebo's draft stock has been trending downwards lately, with some draft analysts projecting that he could be taken on day 2 and others projecting that he could be selected on day 3 in the later rounds of the draft. NFL scouts are concerned about his speed and explosiveness at the next level. Notable running back prospects ahead of Skattebo include Ashton Jeanty and Omarion Hampton. If Skattebo attends the NFL draft, well, maybe he should just be in a hotel with friends and family, or heck, just stay at home with his Sun Devil friends. You know, as opposed to attending the draft in person. Which, might I add, is a very long flight away from Arizona on night 1, since NFL scouts think that he'll be probably a late round draft pick. Quinn Ewers, quarterback. Ewers' stock has plummeted due to his torn oblique injury, which forced him to miss the Senior Bowl. Not to mention the Longhorns losing to the Georgia Bulldogs in 2024, a game in which Ewers did not exactly play his best football, as he completed 25 passes on 43 attempts for 211 yards and threw 2 touchdowns against an interception. Ewers is expected to be drafted in the second round of the draft. On top of that, the quarterback class for the 2025 draft is not particularly big, with Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward leading the way as the top prospects for the position. And of course, there are other extremely talented position players NFL scouts want to select ahead of Ewers in the first round. One analyst cited concerns about his pocket presence, which raises concerns from teams wanting to develop their quarterback of the future. Ewers is probably better off just spending the first 2 days of the NFL draft in his hometown in Texas, surrounded by his family, friends, and peers, rather than waiting to hear his name called at Lambeau Field. Denzel Burke, cornerback. Burke played a significant role in Ohio State's college football championship run on the #1 ranked defense. However, Burke's draft stock has sunk, where he's projected to be taken in the 4th round now, which, in case you didn't know, is the 3rd day of the draft, and that is a massive fall from where he was projected to land back in 2024. Scouts have him as a guy who will be a developmental starter, which is good for teams looking to improve their secondary, but the cornerbacks and safeties who will receive the most attention will be the guys who are taken in the 1st round. And maybe some guys in the 2nd round of the draft. But by then, a lot of people will have moved on from the draft weekend. Burke, I think, will make a good impact on whichever NFL secondary he gets drafted to, similar to what he was able to do for the Buckeyes. But ultimately, he should just enjoy the draft weekend with his family at home. As, well, attending the draft itself in Green Bay might be a bit of a waste. Howard Cross III, defensive tackle. Cross III is a defensive tackle prospect who helped the Fighting Irish reach the College Football National Championship game before the team lost to Ohio State 23-34. Cross III's draft stock took a nosedive due to NFL scouts' concerns about his size and limited upside, which roughly translates to limited growth at the professional level. Cross had a career-high 4 sacks and 66 tackles in 2023, but had 28 tackles as his production dipped in 2024. Cross III is undersized at his position and has an ineffective bull rush, which could mean trouble when he squares off against larger veteran offensive linemen in regular season NFL games. Cross III is projected to be a 6th or 7th round pick in the draft. He will continue to improve his game once he's drafted and will have a good career in the league, probably like his father Howard Cross, who helped the New York Giants win Super Bowl 25 back in the day. But Cross III should enjoy the draft with his family in his hometown rather than waste the money at a hotel or spend a couple of days at Lambeau Field waiting for his name to get called by Commissioner Roger Goodell. Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver. Oh boy, as talented as Egbuka is and how he played a compelling role in the Buckeyes championship run in 2024, his draft stock fell in Mel Kiper Jr.'s latest mock draft. The famed ESPN draft analyst believes that Egbuka will be selected in the 2nd round, similar to Missouri wide receiver Luther Burden III. Now, hey, don't get it twisted here. Egbuka is going to make a drastic impact on whichever NFL team will draft him. However, the 2025 draft class has a lot of wide receiver prospects ahead of Egbuka. Kiper also believes other wide receivers like Travis Hunter, Matthew Golden, and Tedero McMillan will get selected before Egbuka does. If he does get drafted in the 1st round, he'll probably get selected in the later part of it. Once Egbuka does get drafted, he'll potentially grow as a game-changing wide receiver and give opposing secondaries nightmares for years to come. But it may be worth it for Egbuka to just celebrate getting drafted into the NFL with his Buckeye teammates on campus or with family back at home, as opposed to trying to attend the draft in person and not hearing his name called on night 1. Harold Fannin Jr., tight end. Fannin Jr. is a very talented tight end from Bowling Green, who broke the FBS tight end record for receiving yards with 1,555 yards in 2024. With crazy numbers like that, someone would think that Fannin Jr. would be a lock for the 1st round of the NFL draft. Well, he's actually seen his draft stock fall due to the sheer amount of defensive talent who's going to be available here. Fannin Jr. is projected to be a 2nd round pick and have his name called on the 2nd night of the draft. Look, many Pro Bowl and Hall of Fame tight ends have gone in the later rounds of the NFL draft. Guys like Rob Gronkowski, Travis Kelce, and Shannon Sharp. Fannin Jr. will make a significant impact on the professional level. It's just a matter of who's going to select him. However, most mock drafts have other tight ends like Colston Loveland, Tyler Warren, and Mason Taylor getting selected in the 1st round ahead of Fannin Jr., which is probably why Fannin Jr. should soak up the draft night with his family in his hometown or back on campus instead of watch the other tight end prospects get drafted ahead of him in the 1st round at Lambeau Field. But hey, which other NFL prospects do you think should avoid attending the draft because of their potential draft day slide? Do you agree with our list? What do you think we got right here? What do you think we got wrong? Was there anyone that we may have missed? Let us know in the comments section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, then hey, clicking the like button helps us out a ton. And you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then hey, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.